So in this video, I'm going to be sharing with you guys best camera settings for the best quality on the iPhone 16 Pro Max. This is a general video. This is not just specific to the iPhone 16 Pro Max, because this settings will apply for the 16, 16 Pro or 16 Plus or any other iPhone out there that has all of these functionalities that these devices have. You guys can maximize these settings to get the best quality out of these cameras. So with that being said, let's just dive right into this video. First and foremost, guys, when you open up your camera right here, guys, this right here has so many hidden gems, but in order to unlock that, you have to first and foremost head over to your settings and then scroll down where it says camera. And then there's some tweaks that you need to do in order to basically unlock its maximum potential. So two different people on the same phone can take a photo, but one person takes amazing quality photo or video, whereas the other person doesn't take that good of a quality, even though they're using the same device. That's because they don't know how to maximize the potential of their devices. So right here, as you guys can see, I'm gonna walk you guys through these settings and tell you guys a little bit about it, which one is the best for taking impressive quality photos. With that being said, let's go ahead and jump into this. System settings over here, as you guys can see, none of these is relevant. For the most part, you don't have to do anything as long as it's in the default setting, just like this one. It should be good to go. It doesn't affect the quality of the photos that you take. Next one is the photographic styles. Mine is set to standard because I don't like to mess around with photographic styles. I like to do my own editing in the Lightroom after I'm done taking the photo. So you can just leave this as it is as well. You can also quickly switch photographic styles easily within your camera app right here. As you guys can see, easily just switch the photographic styles later on in the camera app as well. Next up, video, which is the most important part of this video. Recording video right here, as you guys can see, 16 Pro Max is capable of recording all the way up to 4K 120 frames per second, and it shoots in high efficiency. Although I use this recording setting, it's not the best for all the scenarios. So for the general public, for those of you especially who shoot for everyday just lifestyle, or maybe you shoot for social media, what I recommend is leaving this at 4K 30 frames per second, because this is in general does a better job of getting compressed and optimized for different social media platforms such as Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, so on and so forth. So this is the best for overall generic video. However, if you want to do some slow-mo, you want to just take a cinematic video and then just slow it down later on in the post-production, then you can shoot 4K 60 or 4K 120 FPS. Although it is very impressive, just keep in mind that it takes a lot of space. But the good thing is that on the iPhone 16 Pro Max or 15, you guys can literally put in your hard drive, external hard drive with the USB Type-C, and then you can literally record into this, which is amazing. You can just save a lot of space and just get more out of your devices. So I recommend just leaving at 4K 30 FPS for general stuff. But if you do want to change this later on within the camera app, again, as I said, you're just gonna switch over to video, and then you can easily just change the, as you guys can see, FPS. So right here, as you guys can see. But nonetheless, I'm gonna leave this at 4K 30 and then walk you guys over. This is irrelevant. This is for TV stuff. If you do some TV stuff, then this might be relevant, but for the most part, just turn this off, and it comes turned off as well. Enhanced stabilization, make sure this thing is on, because this improves your stabilization of your videos. If this is turned off, you're not gonna get a good quality video, because especially if you're just shooting handheld, it's going to be very shaky. So definitely turn this on. Action mode, lower light. So this is also, I like to turn this on, because action mode will decrease the stabilization to optimize for less bright scenes. This is a really good feature. Make sure you turn this on. HDR video, I turn it off, and I recommend for 95% of that people out there, especially if you shoot for social media, this is a big no-no. Definitely turn off HDR, because your videos will look very dramatic. I don't like the way it looks, and people will notice it. It's not the good quality for social media or just general shooting. HDR is not good, so just turn it off. For certain cases, HDR might be good, but for the most part, it is not good. So I like to turn this off, and I recommend you guys to do as well. Auto FPS right here, as you guys can see, I do leave it at auto 30 and 60 FPS. It will basically reduce the frame rate to 24 FPS to basically compensate for the low light video. So lastly, in the video settings, I like to turn both of these on, because what they do is when you lock the camera, it doesn't switch between different lenses, which is what I prefer. It gives you a professional look. It's not just switching perspectives, switching angles all the time. This is a really good. Just turn it on. Make sure it's shooting with the consistent lens. It's not switching between different lens. And lock white balance, what it does is that it consistently keeps the same white balance, so it's not just changing the white balance throughout the video. However, if you are an amateur, I think if you are a beginner, I think you can just leave this on because your camera does automatically adjust the white balance by itself, and that might be a good overall. But I like to keep this on so that I get the same white balance throughout the video. But next up, moving to record slow-mo. Again, as I said, 16 Pro Max can shoot up to 4K, 120 FPS in high efficiency. So if you do want to get the best slow-mo in the best resolution, then I recommend you guys to put 4K, 120 FPS. Just be aware of the consequences because it takes up a lot of storage, as I said. But if you have good storage, then don't worry about it. You can also, as I said, use an external drive like this one in order to just move files around and so that it doesn't take up too much space on your iPhone. Next up, record cinematic. Record cinematic, mine is also set to 4K, 30 FPS. As I said, 30 FPS is my favorite to shoot for just social media, Instagram stories or Snapchat, anything like this. This is the best setting for that. Record sound now on the iPhone 16 Pro Max, and they do have the option to shoot spatial audio. So I like to put spatial audio. This is will be applicable if you are listening with like the AirPods, which is compatible with spatial audio. If you are just exporting or like importing your footage to some regular video editing like Final Cut Pro, Adobe Premiere, then it's gonna be just stereo. Nothing is gonna be different, just extra feature if you have the compatible device. So I just like to put it in spatial audio. However, you can also put in stereo, so it takes a little bit less space. Wind noise, make sure this is on because you don't want the wind noise to be too much, so it does automatically reduce this. And allow audio playback, you can also leave this on as well. What it does is that it does not pause automatically when you are recording video. So this is pretty much it for the sound. But now moving over to photos, which is again the second big thing of this video. Make sure you pay attention to this. I'm gonna explain what camera capture is. Basically, iPhones can shoot either in high efficiency or most compatible. Most compatible is your JPEG files, which is compatible with majority of the devices, and it's just easier to work with, whereas the high efficiency doesn't take up as much space, but it's a little bit more difficult to work with. So I personally, as being a professional, I like to shoot in most compatible. Again, I can just easily import this to my Photoshop, easily import this to any other software and work with it easily, although it takes slightly more space. It's just a better format to shoot. Next one is photo mode. This one, guys, I like to leave it at 12 megapixels because I'm gonna show you guys why. Because 12 megapixels takes 3 megabytes, whereas the 24 takes 4.8 megabytes. And you might be saying, hey, shouldn't you shoot in higher megapixels in order to get best quality? Not necessarily. For that, we have Pro Raw Max, because with the Pro Raw option, we can shoot up to 48 megapixels. Guys, this is where I like to shoot with the high megapixels when I need it. Otherwise, I want to shoot at 12 megapixels. I don't want to mess with 24 megapixels. So if you just turn on Pro Raw, that doesn't mean you automatically shoot Pro Raw. And you guys know that Pro Raw takes up a lot of space, and you guys can do a lot more with it in the post-production. While you're editing, you have a lot more data to work with. That's why it takes a lot of space. But just because you turn this on doesn't mean you're necessarily shooting with Pro Raw all the time, because if you just open up your camera, go to photo, you guys can see that there is this option right here. It says Raw Max. So as long as it's just turned off like this, it's not gonna shoot that 48 megapixel crazy large size photos. If you turn this on, then it's gonna shoot. So don't worry about it. Just turn this on here and you will have that option. If you just turn this off, that means you will not even get that option within your camera app, and it's not good. So just turn this on and just have that option within your camera if you want to shoot at certain cases in that 48 megapixel Pro Raw. And to walk you guys over, if you do want to do just JPEG, you can also do JPEG. If you just select JPEG Max, it does also take photos 48 megapixels. And right here, as you guys can see, you do have the Pro Raw format as well. You have lossless, most compatible, XL lossless, and XL lossy. If you don't understand what this is, just leave it to most compatible. This is for professionals who understand what it means and what it affects in the post-production when you're editing it. For the most people, just leave it at most compatible, and this is the best for dealing with these files and dealing with these formats. Just these are the two, either JPEG or Pro Raw Max up to 48 megapixels. Right here, those are the two options that I recommend you guys to set up. However, if you want to just shoot 12 megapixel RAW, you can also do that as well. If you just select 12 megapixel RAW, but you're not getting the maximum out of your camera. So just select 48 megapixels. And as I said, you can use hard drives like this and then easily just export it to your Photoshop or Lightroom. You can edit through on your computer if you don't want to do it on your phone if you have a limited storage. But moving over to the next option right here, as you guys can see, we have Video Capture ProRes. ProRes, again, it takes insane amount of storage, especially if you have a low storage. I wouldn't recommend you guys to shoot. But again, with the hard drive like this one, you guys can shoot and then record into that hard drive so it doesn't take up a lot of space. And it's also good to have that option. Just turn this on. It's gonna have that option in the video right here in the camera. You will have that ProRes option. So it's just good to have that option at your fingertips. As I said, just because you turn it on doesn't mean it's shooting it, because you have to, again, enable it from here. So just leave that on. And then if you go to HDR, I don't like to shoot HDR, as I said, so I like to shoot log. I like to switch it to the log to get the best video quality. But nonetheless, guys, right here, as you guys can see, this is everything for the formats. Next up, we have preserve settings. These are some preferences based on your personal preferences. You guys can play around with this, but I'm gonna quickly and briefly describe to you guys what it does. So camera mode, it basically preserves the last mode. If you were shooting video last time before you close the app, that's what's gonna open the app up to when you open it up again. Controls menu, you can preserve the previously used camera tool when expanding the controls menu rather than showing the list of camera tools. This is, again, personal preference. I like to leave it on. Photographic style, I like to turn this off because I don't want to, reset my photographic style every single time if I already am shooting in photographic styles, because this, if you turn this on, it's going to reset it every time. Creative control, same thing. I don't want it to reset every time. Depth control, same thing. I don't want it to reset every time. I want to keep it in the same consistent setting. Macro control, this basically what it does is that it preserves the auto macro setting. Rather than automatically use ultra wide camera to capture macro photos and videos. This one, I also like to turn this off right here. As you guys can see, I don't want to shoot in macro control by default. Exposure adjustment, all of these are off because I like to do these things manually. And then ProRAW and resolution control, I turn this on because there has been certain cases where this was off and I would shoot ProRAW, and then later on I wouldn't even pay attention that this was shooting ProRAW. So every time I would shoot ProRAW and again and again and again, and that would take up a lot of storage. I wouldn't realize up until it says low storage. That's why if you turn this on, what it does is that it resets the ProRAW every single time, so it doesn't shoot ProRAW by default every single time. So I like to turn this on. Same thing for ProRes. If you want to just automatically reset it, you don't want to accidentally shoot ProRes video, then also turn this on as well. Live photo, I like to leave this on because I don't want to shoot live photo. When this is off, it's gonna always reset to live photo again every single time you open the camera, so I like to turn this on as well. So that is it for the preserve settings. Now for the use volume for burst, I like to turn this on as well because I like to just quickly press this and take burst photos. Scan QR code, show detected text. These are self-explanatory. You can just leave them turned on. Grid, you do need to have grid in order to properly compose your photos, your composition of your photos. It's really crucial. Level is also very important. Mirror front camera, what it does is that when you're taking selfies, instead of it being like flipped after you've taken them, it just keeps it consistent, just like on the Instagram stories or Snapchat, it just keeps it consistent. If you do, right here, as you guys can see, I took a photo, it's exactly same as it was looking on my preview. Whereas if this mirror front camera is off, which is off by default, by the way, what it does is that it's gonna flip the result. See, my face was on this side, but now it's flipped, basically mirroring, just flipping it after you've taken the photo. I don't like that, so I like to turn this on. So I do have that mirror front camera every single time I take selfies or videos, so on and so forth. View outside the frame, I personally like it. Some people don't like it. It's a personal preference. When you turn this on, basically you cannot see over the frames on the edges right here on the top and bottom, but when you turn it on, you can see through them, which is good. I like this personally. So fusion camera, you do have a fusion camera here. We have additional lenses, 28mm, 35mm. I don't like to mess around with this. 24mm only is the best in my opinion, so I just like to stick it to the default. Portraits and photo mode, yes. Prioritize faster shooting, yes. It basically helps with the software to take faster photos. Lens correction, I do turn this on as well because it basically corrects the distortion of the front and ultra wide cameras. Macro control, it is also turned on because the camera control, it shows basically automatically switching to the ultra wide camera to capture macro photos and videos. So this is a good option to turn on as well. But nonetheless, you guys get the idea. This is everything that is to take the best quality photos and videos and get the best out of the iPhone 16 Pro Max. In order to mess around with what is inside the camera, you can easily just swipe up and see what is included here, right here, as you guys can see. Or now having the camera control button, you guys can also double click, and then just switch around different things here and access your cameras, your depth, your exposure, your zoom, your different lenses right here, which is really, really nice. We have the styles, photographic styles, and we have the tone. Everything is easily accessible with the camera control at your fingertips, literally right here. But nonetheless, guys, I hope this video was helpful and informational. I hope I brought some value to you guys. If you enjoyed this video and watched it this far, smash the like button and also subscribe down below for more interesting content just like this one, because we upload high quality videos every single week. Thanks again for watching. I'll catch you guys next video. In the meantime, check out these videos right here. Peace out.